Welcome into another episode of Preacher in the Hat. My name is Eric. Across from me, my brother Derek. To my right, but you can't tell, my dad Steve. And then behind the cameras and on the audio controls, and also on a hot mic as usual, Mr. Chris Sumter.
Yes, sir! Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
He's back.
We don't have a visitor. That's usually what happens when we have a visitor.
He's back.
I think I might have gotten a little spit from that all the way over here. No, I'm just kidding. That was good.
That was good.
We'll give him a second to rest his vocal cords, but wanted to kick off this evening with a question for y'all. And because there's a couple of things that come to mind for me when I answer this question myself. And I don't understand why. What is something, whether it be a thing around the house or something you got to do, car maintenance, I don't know, whatever. What's that one task or one thing that just does not take that long to do, but you procrastinate and never want to do it? And then each time after, it's like, okay, next time I just got to do it because that only took 5 minutes.
Pay my tax bill in
Okay,
October.
so the thing for me was up until this last year, because I did them for us for the last 5 years. It was pay taxes. It was file taxes. So I did it all on TurboTax or whatever, and you gotta get instructions over here, Chris. And every year I said, next year I'm not waiting until April to do this. And every single year I waited till April to do it. But I don't have to do our taxes anymore. We send them off to somebody because my wife's still
You're a little more complicated.
This is more complicated and more than I wanted to handle through TurboTax. But yeah, that was definitely one for me. It used to be folding laundry. I hated folding laundry. Now it's okay. Probably folding the kids' laundry. Those little tiny clothes, man. It's like the pile never gets smaller while you're folding.
Mine is cleaning out the grill. I love to grill, but I don't like to clean out the ashes.
yeah.
Oh
That's a
my
good
God,
one.
yeah.
And it just doesn't really take that long.
And it's so important to how it works.
Yeah.
Without it, it does the airflow and whatever.
Yeah.
And it just really doesn't take that long. It takes less than 5 minutes.
I got a shop vac for that, the very reason, just so I could
Yeah.
I went and paid for a shop vac to make it easier because I don't like that part. I used to never want to scrub off the grill grates either.
Well, that
And then
adds
I-
flavor too. I mean,
Yeah. But so I don't scrub it with soap or anything like that. But I have to. It's a good idea to scrape the chunks of stuff off, because those will you get up to 400 plus degrees again after you relight it. It's all gonna light on fire, and you'll be like, "Why is my grill 700 degrees?" And well, you had a bunch of grease sitting in there.
I believe you told that story on the podcast.
I did. Yeah, that was one of them. But wild times.
Those are good. Every now and then for me, and this makes no sense because it can damage your car. Every now and for me, it's go get an oil change. And the place close to my house that does them for me is really fast. They get me in and get me out. I just don't want to go. I don't even hate it. So why? I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
you feel like you're throwing money away. You don't feel like you're getting anything out
It's
of it.
not really that.
No, I know that, but it's subconscious in your
might
mind.
be.
You feel like nothing really changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Nothing
in the
obvious
old days,
changed.
it was like $12, and now it's like $108 unless you go on ladies' night. And if you're not,
And then it's $5 off.
Yeah, it's 103 or whatever.
I'm glad you asked this question because I'm having a hard time over here, because there are things I was notorious in my mind for procrastinating about specific things. But as I'm trying to be specific tonight, I'm having a hard time remembering. I think maybe the older I get, the better that has gotten for me. And I think maybe part of it is I feel like I have more time now, that I can kind of ease into it. But I would say that in times past, whenever it was a paperwork issue, whatever the paperwork, whether it was paying the way we used to pay bills, and then your mom took that over because she didn't like it that I would procrastinate. Now I didn't have late bills, but I'd go under the wire. You know what I'm saying? I kind of go under the wire and get it done. So I think anything to do with paperwork, which would include, if I had done my taxes, that definitely would have been one. But for years, I've never done.
You never did taxes, huh?
I don't think I ever did my taxes.
Ever? Yeah.
No, I mean like myself personally. I have my taxes done.
1-800.
No, I do my taxes. I get them done. Let's put it that way.
I'm a pastor. You can't touch me.
No,
They can and they will.
yeah, I was gonna say.
I think back to high school, and you'd have to, I don't know, what's one that was really terrible that I always hated? Like write an essay for homework.
Yeah.
And you'd have
stuff like that.
a week and a half of a head start of them telling you when it was due. And I would just dread it and dread it and dread it and dread it and dread it. And then finally sit down the night before and be done with it in 50 minutes.
You got to get that. Hey, it's all about getting that thesis statement, bro.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Could have just done it at the
Did that
start.
with summer. I think was they did a summer reading. I think it was worse because you're like, I got 2 months.
The whole summer,
I got
baby.
over 2 months to do this, and then it's the last week, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, man, I got
that
two books.
That's sounding familiar.
Now you
like
never procrastinated. Like I've never been a pastor, but like you have to come up with a sermon like every.
Oh
week.
yeah. Oh, I have done that before.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, in years past, I don't now, but I used to more often. But sometimes finishing up, not normal. Now I plan ahead a lot better than I used to. But yeah, finishing up. Occasionally, I would put it.
Because back in the
off
day, you
finishing
didn't
up.
even have the internet to rob them off of. You like literally had to hear from God.
Yeah, well, I don't rob
stuff,
them off the internet anyhow. But like for example,
Chat GPT writes all of Dad's sermons.
Yeah.
yeah, if you believe that, I got some land I'll sell you real cheap too. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That makes me cringe every time I think about it. That people do that. But I would say anything
I doubt
to do with
I doubt
paperwork.
it's as prevalent as people like to pretend.
Yeah.
When it comes to pastors
Yeah.
preparing
Yeah,
sermons.
not at this point. It might eventually become that, but not now.
It's probably an overflow of their heart, their sermons. Most
Well,
of
a
it.
lot of times it has been.
I think so.
Flow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let us know what your well, I don't know what we're even calling that. Whatever it is that makes you not want to do it. How do I name that? Somebody help me. The thing that makes you procrastinate. That's not it. That's not the.
Quite a few years ago, I read somebody that talked about why people tend to procrastinate and who are the people that tend to procrastinate more. And there are people that grew up in homes where they were made to do things against their will and were not allowed to express their feelings about it. Now, every family has children that grow up are doing things against their will, but they were never allowed to experience. For example, if they felt frustrated or anxious or angry about it, they were not allowed to say, I'm having a hard time doing that because I feel anxious or that kind of thing. And that would tend to, I thought it was kind of an interesting insight. It actually helped me understand a little bit some of my feelings about that. So, yeah. And that insight actually helped me procrastinate less because I thought, well, if at least I express my feelings about it out loud, I'm more likely to be able to get through it. Because I grew up in a time when children were, you not only had to do it, you were supposed to like it. You know, and that's not. That's why I sometimes would say to you guys, it's okay for you to be angry, just not disrespectful. You know, it's because I didn't want you to not feel like you couldn't be angry. You weren't supposed to be angry. But when I grew up, in our generation, it was almost like you weren't supposed to be angry. Not only were you supposed to do it, you weren't supposed to be frustrated or angry about having to do it.
So then, if a lot of these are places where or ways that we lack urgency, what are some ways that we currently lack urgency as Christians living out our faith?
He was about to answer. Okay, I heard him getting ready.
Go ahead.
No.
You go ahead.
I know.
I don't know that I'm ready, so go ahead.
I was waiting on you. I was just making a comment.
You were hoping I'd get started, huh?
You can't inhale like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I wasn't just me. You heard.
You can't inhale like that and not say something.
It echoed through the world.
Yeah. I was like,
I'm sorry.
Is he gonna go?
Go ahead, start up, Eric.
No,
Eric.
I literally didn't have anything.
Oh,
what I
okay.
was saying.
Okay.
I thought you went.
I did.
And
then
so
you
he
didn't
tuned in and he's like, wait.
So I was like, all right, let me sit up
Got
here.
nothing,
and then
boys.
you said nothing. Yeah.
Consistent with our conversation, I procrastinated. In other words, I put off talking about it.
You would say the Sunday school answer stuff. You know what I mean? Like procrastinating from talking about Jesus with the person across the street, or procrastinating being generous with your money. But like it could even include as much as, getting help for something you need, help for. And I think we suck at that, like really, can I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
I do. I think we do. And so, procrastinating. Steve, you said this one time about, was it you that said that men wait till the last 5 years of their life before they go get help health-wise or something? It was like almost
Could be, yeah.
crazy. But,
Yeah.
even mental health and spiritual health, I think, is something.
Well, there used to be a lot of talk about men having midlife crisis, and for a long time, I just wasn't buying that, okay, it's just some random thing called a midlife crisis that everybody goes through. But through the years, one of the things I understood about men is sometimes in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, they're so busy raising a family, providing, doing these kind of things. They don't do internal work. It feels like you don't have time to do internal work. It feels like it's not necessary to do internal work. You just got to get her done, And so when you get into your 50s, what I found from myself and other men is all of a sudden that internal work you didn't do back in those earlier years
Catches up.
comes rushing to the front, and now you have to, because now you're not quite as busy. You have a little more flexibility usually in your 50s than you did in your 40s and 30s and 20s. At least that was true for me. And then when you get into your 60s, it's certainly true. And so I've seen men belatedly dealing with internal work and don't feel urgent to get it done earlier because it's just like, I don't have time to do that. And so you don't feel urgency about it if you think you can't get it done in the kingdom. Do I have time to sit and let Jesus talk to me about who I am? Do I have time to sit with somebody else, with a group of men and talk about internal stuff? Not like, hey, be a man, be a father, be that, but internal stuff and stuff that I'm going through personally. So I think sometimes we don't see that internal work as urgent. And really, I'm piggybacking off of what you said, Chris, is because we just put it off for whatever reason. And sometimes our reasons sound really, really good. I just don't have time to deal with that. I've heard moms talk about that when children were young.
Right.
It was hard for them to process stuff. They're just trying to survive. Kids not getting enough sleep, not getting enough rest. It's kind of hard to sit back and think, oh, okay, let's think of the more grandiose things in life. It's like, I just don't know if I'm even going to be able to stay awake, sometimes we go through like much less have time to really internally deal with what I'm dealing with and that kind of thing. So, yeah. Having raised 4 children along with Lenora, That's a pretty busy time. And you don't feel like you really can take much time for yourself to do internal work because you're trying to help a bunch of people do a lot of things, and they're pretty dependent on you during that time too. So it's a season.
We're plugging next week, aren't we?
Apparently, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
And the world doesn't, I mean, to me, it doesn't really set itself up to even give guys a chance to even negotiate that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because of what's expected out of you. So you're just plugging along, doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, right?
That's right. Well, you know, one thing that was helpful for me along that line is it might be urgent, but it's not urgent. For example, if I'm a gardener, and I'm not, my wife is, but I'm not a gardener. But what I do know, I've been around enough farmers, grew up in a farming community. One thing I know about them is if they felt urgent to plant the seeds in December, that was a mistake.
Right.
So I think not everything is urgent in every season. And I think when we can learn about the seasons of life and embrace the seasons of life, to say, this is a really busy time for me, so I really don't have a lot of time to do a lot of internal work, and not feel bad about that or feel guilty about it. You know, that has helped me a lot to see life as the seasons we're going through. I remember I used to call it, I'm in the middle of prime time parenting. So I knew I was in that season, so I had to make some decisions. If I was going to be in primetime parenting, I didn't want to miss that. I know you guys are like that too. You just don't want to miss it. And so you say, okay, what's urgent right now is this, you know, and it can look like you don't think other things are urgent and need to be. But seeing things in season, seeing it's urgent now to get in that field, plow that land, and plant a crop, because I've only got a window to do it in. You know? So that's where I think maybe we can look at it. Is this the season for me to urgently do something? And sometimes it is. It's just a busy time, and I don't need to begrudge that. I need to begrudge. I need to fully participate in it, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to miss something. What do you think? Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, yeah. So have you guys thought much about seasons of life? What about urgency in certain seasons? And if so, what's urgent in the season you're in? I'm not the moderator, but I asked the question.
Especially for somebody that's got young kids, you know.
Yeah.
Urgency is like learning how to be present in those times, you know, like that's the season. Because I think we always think be at every game and don't. Because I remember when I made a decision not to work any Saturdays or Sundays.
Okay.
And I'm self-employed. That's rare. That's one of the few good decisions I made in my life.
That's a good one.
But even if you make a good decision, it's not just that you go and be there, but that you be present.
Yeah, that's right.
Have an urgency to be present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you had an urgency to not be at work so that you could be present, but then maybe sometimes the urgency to what to do while I'm there. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah,
that'll preach, boys.
That will preach. That's pretty good. I like that. You want to keep expanding on that? You want to give us like 3-point alliterated outline? Yeah.
So what's another way we as Christians or as the church lack urgency?
Sometimes when somebody else comes to me with a problem, I may not feel like the timing's good for me to help. And I think sometimes I need to have more sense of urgency. Strike while the iron is hot.
Right.
It's they're open. They're willing. They're wanting help. I don't need to let them control my life, but I do need to say, you know what? It may not feel like I need to be urgent right now with this, but I probably need to.
Well, you guys were talking last week about you didn't want to go to the doctor or something. I can't remember when it was.
Yeah.
But like you were like really working through that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when Jesus speaks to us, we have to have him say it in like 4 different languages before we agree with him in spirit that that's what we need to do. And really, and I hate this because my dad used to say this all the time. I love you, Poppy, but he would say, delayed obedience is disobedience.
Oh,
I don't know if that's true or not. It sounds like it might be. I'm not going to necessarily.
delayed obedience is disobedience.
I'm not going to make a bumper sticker out of it, you know, but it may be true. You know what I mean? If Jesus tells you to do something and you're like, well, let me make sure he's really saying that to me. You know what I mean? And I think that might have.
I have had times in ministry where I thought I missed an opportunity. Later on, I went, oh my goodness, I knew I should have done that, but I missed it.
Yeah, I think the window can close. Where the
delay itself is
Yeah.
disobedience.
right.
Yeah.
Let's just look at Jonah.
Yeah,
He eventually did it, right?
yeah.
But there was disobedience prior
But he ended up in a whale.
to the obedience. So.
I wonder what would have happened if he would have just gone immediately
Well,
without
we wouldn't
complaining.
it wouldn't have been in the Bible probably because lots of folks did that.
That's right.
Lots of folks went
That's
where
a
they were
great
supposed
story.
to go.
It's a good story. Yeah. Well, we in those moments we have all kind of reasons why we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think. Am I right?
Yeah.
I interrupted.
I think, well, no, it's fine. I think one of the things that we get stuck doing, and I would definitely qualify this as a lack of urgency, is that we kind of like, I don't know if I want to say like as the church, because that's such a broad generalization. So I don't want to just like characterize it broadly like this necessarily, but I think there are times where we get in spots where we think, well, hold on. We kind of want to build, we want to kind of want to get who we want to get. And then like start to build a dome around it.
Yeah. That's
And then
right.
we think we're welcoming everyone in. We think we're chasing after people, but we're really not, because like we got who we want, and like that's who we're gonna focus on. That's what we're this group of people, whatever, and then not really go or reach beyond that. And the problem, and that's when what I just said before is like, to me, is where the problem comes in that we think we're not doing that sometimes when we are.
Yeah, that's good. I think you're absolutely right. We give reasons why we can or shouldn't or don't want to, but we fool ourselves into thinking when there's something right in front of us, but it doesn't fit our scenario of what we need to be doing or how we need to be doing.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like excuses. Like I've made excuses all my life at various times on like why I might not evangelize in a certain moment.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's not my personality. It's like, oh, I just, I just let my light shine without explicitly talking about
Remember
it.
the Frisbee story, don't you?
And that's
You remember the Frisbee story, don't you?
crap. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, sometimes
It's a vault, man. It's a vault.
no
up
off
there.
switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But and so that's kind of what I'm talking about too. Is, it's like but then we think we're doing that. Like we let ourselves believe that like, oh, other people, like if it's let's just take it as a church, for example, and it's like a new person comes, and so we think we're evangelizing, or it's like, or someone gets close to us, so we think we're good at discipling, people, it's stuff like that. I don't know.
I think sometimes we don't see it as urgent to be intentional. We don't see it urgent to be intentional. We kind of let it happen, you know what I'm saying, and say, well, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Whereas the urgency ought to be, we need to be intentional of putting ourselves in certain places, intentional about putting ourselves. For example, if I had I had a sense, way many years ago, I was still in nursing school. I had a sense that somehow I was supposed to work in prison, and it didn't make any sense to me. It's like, why am I in the medical field and doing this? It didn't make any sense to me at all, but I had that sense of urgency. And then when I realized I didn't want to be in the medical field, I was like, I need to explore this about this prison thing. Why is this prison thing coming to my head? And I thank God that I did. I sought it out, because what if I hadn't? What if I had not done it when I was 22 years old and said, that's what I'm going to do? Because it was something it was almost a sense of urgency in me to do that. And you can say, well, they'll still be in prison when I get ready. I think sometimes pastors especially, they prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare to do something, but don't do it. They put off doing it. Maybe it is evangelizing, it's discipling, or talking to this person or talking to that person. I don't think we need to see as urgent everybody else's demands or everybody else's needs. But we need to see it as urgent to be intentional, to put ourselves in positions to help people.
In the words of my grandmother, the great theologian Elsie Pritt,
yes,
poop or get off the pot.
That's true. Yeah. But it's like those, talk to a guy. Man.
Derek likes that. I think that's spurred.
What? And one other thing that I need clarification on, right?
Clarify, baby.
Was her name LC or LC? LC.
Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah.
Up to you. That's great. Take your pick.
It's like we were talking to a guy one time, who was in a part of a different church that we weren't a part of, and they had been like, they had planted this church in a specific community because they wanted to reach said community, but all they really did was hold their services in that community and did nothing. Yeah. Like to actually reach out to people or to alert anyone that they were actually there.
I ain't moving over there.
And to be there to be helpful. So it's like you can't just post. It's like, to me, that's a great example. It's like you can't just post up somewhere. Now, and it's even, that's to me is even more alarming because they actually went to that specific place with intention, and then just all they did was like gather in a spot and not tell anyone. But
what do you think Jesus meant when, consistent with what you said, when he said, look out unto the fields, they're white unto harvest, the harvest is plentiful.
And in that passage, he corrects one of the disciples because he was talking about seasons, but he said, you don't understand, it's already there. The harvest is already there. And I think a lot of people in the kingdom think, well, when those people get ready for us, then we'll go out and meet their needs. We'll go out and lead them to Jesus. And what Jesus is saying, stop all that. The problem is not the harvest. The problem is not people that are not willing to hear. The problem is the harvest is white, ready for harvest. But the workers were the problem. The people who said, let me go in the harvest. They're few.
Can
brother.
I take up an offering right now? But I have watched that over and over and over again with people who almost act like the problem is with the harvest as opposed to the workers intentionally, urgently saying, get out here, we've got to harvest this. And I have some friends in Pennsylvania who are farmers. And buddy, when harvest time is there, they are working almost around the clock. I'm talking about when harvest time, they do not wait around and say, well, I wonder what I should do next, or I want to be sure I get some extra sleep. No, sir, buddy, it is harvest time. And I think when we have a sense that it is harvest time, it can create urgency in us. But until we adopt that, until we adopt a harvest mentality and respond to the harvest, and we respond to what we want and what we need, we won't ever feel urgent about it.
I can hear the outro music playing right now. That was a good word right there.
Thank you. The fields are white unto harvest. Therefore, pray that the Lord will send workers into the harvest. Go get the harvest, in other words. That's why he said, go and make disciples, not wait for them to come to you, like you said, Eric. Just, set up your church and hope they come. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Amen.
That's a good word.
Does anyone have another translation that would like to read those verses in? I'm just kidding.
That was the King James, wasn't it? I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Those are Jesus' words. So our urgency comes from what he says. Our urgency comes from him. And I think that's one thing we can say, Lord Jesus, make me urgent about the things that are urgent.
And not the things that aren't.
And not the things that are. Keep me away from the things that are not urgent. Good night. The storing up treasures where moth and rust doth corrupt, and thieves break in and steal.
That was KJV for sure. Right
You down with KJV?
He went with Doth.
Yeah, you get a Doth in there.
I went wall
KJV.
King, all the way wall to wall King James on you. That was
Ye old KJV.
Yeah.
yeah. I think it was like this recently. If I can use one final story for me, I was trying to figure out why I still keep going to prison. And I talked about that on this podcast before. And I said, I'm doing this for 45 years. Why do I still do this? And, I've gone through the surgery and that, and I think, why am I still going? That tires me out about as much as anything I do. I sometimes can do a full day, 10, 12-hour work ministry time out here. If I go in there and do 5 hours, my energy level gets sapped more for 5 hours than it does for 12 hours out here. And we talked about that because y'all talked about I remember, Derek, you talking about just when you walk in there, how it sucks the energy from you. Well, so why would I go? Is because it's urgent, man. It's urgent. It's urgent. There's guys that are dying in prison. There's guys that don't know Jesus in prison. And so going in there, it's an urgent harvest. And there's a plentiful harvest up in there too. A plentiful harvest. And so I don't need to say, well, I've done my time, because I didn't mean I have to go in as often as I did, but I still feel urgent about it. I've got to participate in this because it's part of what Jesus is doing and part of what he has me doing. So when are you going to prison with me, Chris?
Let me just say this. How beautiful are the feet of those that share the gospel. You got some beautiful feet.
Well,
brother.
thank you, sir.
KJV. Give us the KJV.
I'm sorry. I don't have it.
Well, then for Derek and Steve, Chris behindeth the camera, I beeth Eric. See ye on yonder morrow.
Yes, sir.